Williams Brothers Studio 54 IPA.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one here today from Williams Brothers, but looking at the can, you wouldn't fucking know it. It's like they're almost ashamed of it, because, does it say it anywhere? Not really. You really have to search it. In fact, I don't think it mentions it on the can at all. Why have they done that? Unfucking believable. Right, this is an alarm bell straight away. If a brewing company doesn't want to put their name on the can, the fuck's going on there? Yeah, that's a bit of an alarm bell, and it's part of Aldi's, they call it club range. Right, I should explain this, right? Studio 54. It was a nightclub in New York during the 1970s that was renowned for playing disco music. Now, I don't know about you, but I fucking hate disco music. It fucking winds me up. I don't like rap, I don't like soul, I don't like disco. I'm basically punk, metal and hardcore, and that's about it, and everything else can fuck off. So all this bollocks about Studio 54, they do one Hacienda, you know, the nightclub in Manchester, and some other fucking shithole, I don't know where, but yeah, there's 3 of them, and this is the one that was in New York, and yeah, it was renowned for its pioneering the disco scene of the 1970s. All I can say is thank fuck for punk rock. Anyway, I've got that off my chest. I'm going to calm down now. Williams Brothers, they should have heard of them by now. They are a brewery. They are based in Scotland in a place called Alloa, and they produce a hell of a lot of stuff for Aldi. I don't know what the deal is with them. I don't know if they're making money or they're just desperate for sales or just desperate to get their name out there. I don't know, but they do a hell of a lot of their stuff in Aldi's. Some good, some not so good, some downright fucking shit. Still not as bad as that Brewdog IPA. I'm still trying to get the fucking taste out of it. Why I'm drinking this shit, I don't know. But I'm going to do it anyway. I bought it. It was quite cheap. I think it was about $1.30 a can or something like that. And I just thought, I'm going to give it a go. I'll give every beer a fair crack and a whip. You never know. It may surprise me. But this lot are really... I used to really like them. They were really good. And then all of a sudden they just went very shit, if you know what I mean. And they do occasionally come up with the odd good. And there was one the other day that, in fact, it was one of the stouts. Was it a stout? Yeah, I like the Chocker Blocker Mocha, whatever that was. That wasn't too bad. I didn't mind that. Fair bit of flavour. They do the odd IPA as well, which isn't bad. They do a Belgian IPA. Now that is really nice. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a good one. But a lot of the other stuff is very fucking average. And you know, if you're brewing beer for Aldi, then you know you've got to cut corners, I would imagine, just to get a little bit of a profit. But anyway, enough on that. Let's investigate the beer. This is 5.5%, which struck me immediately as being a bit odd. If it's Studio 54, surely you would have tried to get it 5.4%. You know, maybe that's me and my OCD, I don't know. But the cynic in me says that they tried to go for 5.4 and just couldn't get it down there and got to 5.5. But I have no fucking evidence for that whatsoever, so please don't take that as read. It's a 330ml can. What does it say on the back? Celebrating the classic era of disco. Fuck off. Studio 54 pours golden and glittering and struts with a hop-forward profile. God. Delivered by Magnum for bittering. Citra and Chinook in the Whirlpool, and a Hop Rocket edition of Simcoe. Let me just explain about the Whirlpool, just in case you didn't know. I'm sure you all do, but I'm just going to go over it again for the people that don't. The Whirlpool, what is that? Well, when you boil up all the malt, that is called the wort. And, you know, you throw your hops in there at various stages, it's boiled up. And what you get afterwards is basically a big mess of malt, separated hop leaves, or, you know, bits of hop leaves, and other sediment as well. That other sediment could be anything, any adjuncts you've added, some of the malt, etc. And that's called the trub. And it comes from the German word Naturtrub. So if you've ever seen Weissbier where it says Naturtrub, that means it's cloudy and it's got sediment in it. So they've taken that word trub or trub and they've used that for sediment. The wort is the liquid that is extracted from that big mess. So what happens is there is the liquid that comes out the boil, and that is put into a tank, and that's called the Whirlpool tank. And what happens is they shoot water into there and it spins it around and it separates all the sediment. And while they're doing that, you know, they'll throw in some hops as well, and that will give it some flavours. When you boil up hops, you release the alpha acid, so that gives it the bittering. So what you get in there, the Magnum would have gone in there and it would have released all its bittering qualities into the wort, or into the mash, I should say, as it's boiled up. Then when that mash is squeezed out and the liquid comes out, that's called the wort. The wort goes into a whirlpool and that spins round. The hop pellets or sediment or whatever, it all separates, and that is how they get rid of it. And then it goes for filtering to, you know, become clearer and clearer. So I hope that makes sense. So the hops they've used for the whirlpool, which won't be boiled, that's just spun round, so it won't release any of its alpha acids or its bittering agents. The two hops there are Citra and Chinook, and then afterwards, when it will be dry hopped, I imagine, with Simcoe. So there you go, that's basically what you're getting. And of course, they're all American hops, so it's going to have, this beer, I'm assuming, is going to have a very American flavour. So let's open it up and see if it has. Right, that cleaned its glass out because it was a bit fucking monkey. Right, I'm going to pour a little bit out of it, see what we can get. Oh, look at the state that. I knew that glass was going to be dirty. That is a fucking disgrace. It really is. I do apologise for that. What are we getting on the nose? Faint aromas of resin, grapefruit, a little bit of malt on there as well. But flavours are quite subdued, which is a bit of an alarm bell. But nevertheless, I could be proved wrong. There it is in the glass. I do apologise for any bubbles that are sticking to the side. Sort of two-finger head. Dogs are killing each other, won't worry about it. Foamy white head. Reasonable amount of aroma, not great. Let's get it down the hatch and see what's going on. Cheers. Not the worst beer in the world. Quite a bit of malt on that. It's just a tad boring. But I could drink it. I do wonder what sort of IPA they were trying to achieve here. You'd think Studio 54, that was an American nightclub. You'd assume possibly they were trying to go for an American IPA. Doesn't really fall into that category at all. Certainly not a West Coast. Hasn't got the bitterness of a West Coast. Hasn't got the super juicy flavours and aromas of an East Coast or New England. It's really clear. And it's just reminding me, if anything, of a very, very fucking boring British IPA, because it's got all that malt on it. I have tasted a lot worse, I have to say. And considering the price, it would go down okay, I'd imagine. I've not really held out much hope for it, and it's not really surprised me. It's just a bang average beer, to be honest. Faint biscuit malt. That, you know, that's on the finish. In between there, you've got a mishmash of sort of tropical fruit, pineapple, little touch of grapefruit. Not much resin on there. I thought there would have been more resin with them Chinook and Citra hops, but no, it just doesn't really do much for me at all. So what's the verdict on Studio 54 IPA? Well, I picked this up for, I think it was £1.30 or something like that. I really can't remember the price. It was cheap though. It was certainly under £2. And I didn't hold out much hope for it. Alarm bells rang when Williams Brothers didn't even put their name on it. So I don't know what they're trying to achieve there. I really, honestly, is it me being a dick? Or, no. Oh, specially produced for Aldi. Yeah. But it's brewed by Williams Brothers. I mean, that's common knowledge, so that's probably why they've done it. I take that back. But you can sort of see on here, that's a Williams Brothers trait. If you look at the top of that can, that sort of pattern type, they put that on a few of their cans. Oh, it really doesn't do much for me at all. But it's not the worst beer in the world. Now, they brewed that for Aldi. Brewdog. I know I keep going back to that beer, but that really was the worst beer I have ever tasted. Certainly this year, anyway. I mean, I've probably tasted worse beers, but I'm going to really have to think. But that was bad, and it cost more than this, I think. This is, it's just okay, and I'm being a bit generous there. It's very uninspiring. There is very little aroma, very little flavour, and there's really nothing to make me want to ever buy this ever again. I'm going to give it a, I'm feeling generous. I'll give it a very generous 6 out of 10. Would I recommend it? There's nothing really to make this outstanding. I really don't know why these craft brewers put out so many average tasting beers. Don't get me wrong, I know there are budget constraints. If you're brewing stuff for Aldi, they are going to want to sell it cheap, so they're going to want to squeeze the brewer for as much as they can get, and the brewer has to make a profit, and Aldi's have to make a profit, and it's all about margins, and you're getting what you pay for, basically. So I'm going to give them 6 because it's not repulsive. I'm going to finish that, so that says something about it, but I'll never buy it again. 6 out of 10. Buy it if you want. I couldn't give a fuck. And remember, beer is working class champagne.